Hello, welcome to Seth and I's presentation of Kiss Me Kate the musical. Just so you know, this presentation will also be uploaded onto Canvas for your viewing pleasure. Let's begin.
Ooh. So, to start off, the show's background. In 1935, a stagehand who worked on Broadway for the Shakespeare show Kiss Me Kate, which is a play, not a musical, he worked with this couple who were actually playing Catherine and Petruchio, and they would take their onstage couple fights and carry those fights on after they go off stage. And years later, he became a producer and thought that that would make a good musical. And that's where the inspiration for the show comes from. They approached Cole Porter and the Spivaks for the making of the musical, and in 1948 it goes to the Schubert Theater in Philadelphia, where they run it for a couple of weeks, tweak it a little bit, and then it moves to Broadway to the New Century Theater, where it wins 5 Tony Awards, including the first ever Best Musical Award, because they didn't have the category before that year. It goes to London in 1951. They made a film version in 1953. It goes to another London show again, another London, then goes back to New York and gets awards for revivals there, Tony Awards and some Drama Desk Awards. And then it goes back to London and does a couple shows there, and then it just got revived in New York again and did not win any Tonys. So that's a little background. Now the production team. Here we have Cole Porter. He did the music and lyrics for the show. He was born in 1891 as a child prodigy. He led a very closeted life, but at least he was rich and talented, so it's not all bad for the gays back then. He first wrote music for the Broadway show Paris, and then after that he started doing his own works. He did 50 Million Frenchmen, Gay Divorcee, Anything Goes, Red Hot Jubilee, or Red Hot and Blue, then Jubilee, Dewberry Was a Lady, Panama Hattie, Kiss Me Kate, Can Can, Stockings. He's known for his massive repertoire of songs that he's provided for the American Songbook. And he died in 1964. So that's a little bit about him. And then we have the book and words written by Sam and Bella Spivak. Sam Spivak was born in the Ukraine in 1899, and Bella Cohen was born in Bucharest in 1989. They both moved to America as immigrants and eventually got married and did a little bit of work in Moscow as ambassadors basically to the US. And then they came back and started becoming a musical comedy writing duo, which is a weird career shift. But they started writing for Broadway, including the shows The Solitaire Man, Boy Meets Girl, and My Three Angels. In 1938, they worked with Cole Porter on their play Clear All the Wires, and that became the musical Leave It to Me. They won an Academy Award for My Favorite Wife in 1940. They got divorced, but when producers Suber and Ayers approached Bella to write Kiss Me Kate, she wrote a good majority of the show and then decided that she needed a little bit more inspiration from realism to ground the show. And so she went to her husband, and since they'd been divorced, that would make a good realistic emphasis onto the show. And so Sam came and helped write for the project, and that kind of patched up their relationship. They didn't get back together, but they did work well together for that project, and it's what they're most well known for. Sam died in 1971 and Bella died in 1990. the initial reception of the show. When they first were making the show, Bella tried to make the character of Catherine more progressive, since like Shakespeare has gotten a lot of flack for essentially writing this man-hating, non-feminist ideal woman who has to basically be retaught to bend to the man's will and stuff. And Bella tried to change how that story was going to be portrayed. And then all the men working on the project said no and rewrote all of that stuff out behind her back. So the show still did really well. It had 1,077 original performances, so it did really well for the time. It had several revivals up till our modern day. Over all of its time, it's been nominated for 19 Tonys, and it's won 10 of them. And it's also been nominated for 12 Drama Desk Awards and won 6 of those.
Similar shows. So some similar shows to this would be Anything by Cole Porter. Mostly we picked out Anything Goes because it's his other like most popular musical. And then we also related the show to a lot of Golden Age musical comedies. And then also it fits into the genre of the Tin Pan Alley. Audition material for this show from Anything Goes in particular would be Easy to Love, I Get a Kick Out of You, and then also Buddy Beware. From the show, you can take I Hate Men, which would be a great Catherine piece, So in Love, and the reprise of So in Love, which would be good for Catherine or Petruchio's part. And then I've Come to Wive It Wealthily in Padua, or Where is the Life Late I Led would be great for Petruchio. And then also Always True to You in My Fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So some original and also newer musical examples of this show. So this is one picture of the whole, like, the 4 main leads of the very original production. And then here I have a little, like, chronological timeline of Catherine from the very first production. And then the middle is the one we watched. And then the last one is iconic Kelly O'Hara in the 2019 revival. And then here's another 2 pictures of Catherine and Petruchio from the original and the one we watched in class. Just kind of showing the, like, parallels of them. And then here's a final picture of the most recent 2019 revival during In My Fashion, that song. So now we're going to get to the online discourse. Here we have our virtual agreements. So we are still asking you to come prepared, be present and open with each other, create a supportive, enthusiastic environment on the web, stay focused to the topic, ask valuable questions of others in an effort to understand, listen deeply, have mutual respect and be patient, keep the discussion tone at a conversation level since we can't quite yell at each other, and then acknowledge that silence is a part of the process in your home, and think before you post. Lastly, we also would like you to add to the discourse with new ideas and do not spam the chat.
Yeah.
So now you may continue on your way to the 4 questions we've posted, and here are our sources for Talea. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.